Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time for some more War Thunder with SevRoks. Yeah. I've been a very naughty boy. I've done some things that I regret, and I feel very, very bad about. I've been using BF-109s. I know the horror. I know I said I hate BF-109s, and I still do. But now I know why I hate them. Little something called the R1 modification. You don't know, if you don't play Germans that much in War Thunder, you don't know what the R1 modification is. I'll break it down for you. Most planes have bomb attachments or rocket attachments you can get under the undersides of the wings. The R1 modification is exactly like that, but instead of rockets and bombs, it's two extra 20mm cannons. The BF-109 F4s, for example, as I'm using in this game, as you can see I've already gotten a kill, I'm ashamed. I'm just purely ashamed. They have one cannon sticking out the front and two machine guns sticking out the nose as well, so they're very accurate because all their guns are coming out the nose. The R1 modifications put two more 20 mils under the wings, so yeah, now you have three 20 mils and a boat ton. Well, two machine guns, not a boat ton, but you have a lot of firepower in a lower tier package than something like the Falkenwar for the BF-109 G2 Tropical. Oh, poor P400, he never stood a chance. Off goes the wing. And let's pop a reload here real quick. So that's what I've discovered is why the BF-109s are so gosh darn powerful. For those of you who paid attention, they're all the way through my last War Thunder video. I talked about that very briefly. But I decided to start putting it to the test here as I recorded this game. And it's not pretty, to say the least. Am I gonna get him? Oh, my cannons aren't up, but I will say this much. Quite a lot of times in this video, you'll see me running out of ammo for my cannons, because I mean the cannons are only gonna have so much ammo compared to that of something like the machine guns. The machine guns are actually still very effective. They're two, I think, 30mm machine guns, or 30 cal machine guns, I should say, not 30mm. That'd be nuts. Two 30 cal machine guns that stick out the nose of the plane, so they're still very lethal and they can catch planes on fire, do a good amount of damage. And oh, hello, Lag 3, I'm so sorry. Oh, that's just unfortunate. You just see the stopping power of those three 20 mils, even though two of them are on the wings. But the machine guns can do some damage. Oh, D3A1, aren't you a tier 1 plane? I don't think so. Oh, I feel so dirty. Oh, what are we at now? Like 4 kills? 5 kills already? Oh, this is... Oh, I feel terrible. I really do. While I'm on just cruising along here, I think I'm reloading or something. Oh, no, I'm not reloading. I'm just cruising along. This map, this is one of the newer maps that was introduced in update 1.37. I like it, except for the fact that my frames are crap on it. I guess it's because it's a newer map, it's not well optimized. I don't have the beefiest gaming computer. I'm on a Mac of all things, and it still runs most games very well. But some maps in War Thunder, especially the new ones, have issues for me. So bear in mind, the whole time I'm playing this game, I'm getting 30 to 25 FPS almost the entire game. So the fact that I was doing as well as I was doing was surprising. That LA-5 was trying to come after me, and I've learned something about the Russians, is while they tend to have good side-to-side maneuverability, their nose up and down is kind of iffy, especially from flying them, so you can very easily maneuver out of the way of them. Now this LA-5 was about to go after me, but I dodged him. Oh, and there's the payback. That's just cruel and unusual punishment. BF-109E1, my brethren must be stricken down as I know how lethal they are. Getting a crit on that F1 that was flying by. One thing this is actually a very interesting game due to the fact that the matchmaking's been derpy lately. For a lot of people, especially if you go in a game and you ask a lot of people, they'll tell you that the matchmaking's been broken for about a week. Oh, what's behind me? No, not the IL-2, those 23mm Shakas machine guns and cannons. Yeah, that was bound to happen as I was already pretty crit from that head-on with the E1. Let's go into the BF-109 F4 Tropical now. But the matchmaking has been iffy. And what I mean by iffy is it's been very wonky. It's not necessarily caring about what battle rating you're in. It's just taking all the planes available that are in the generalized tier area and chucking them into one game. So if you're running your highest tier as a tier 4, you could get into a game with battle rating 5.0 or 5.4, I think. I've gotten into a 5.4 with my Russians before. You can get into some pretty high tier battles. You can also get into some very low tier battles. My BF-109 F4s, I think they're 3.7, I believe. And this was about like a 3.0 game. So the fact that I was flying around in BF-109 F4s really gave me an advantage over everyone else flying BF-109s, and they were all flying F1s, F2s, E1s, E3s. So I already had a massive advantage, but I was just able to capitalize on that and lay down the law and put the hurt down, as I'm going to do to this PE3. I don't know if I actually end up ever getting this guy. I know I crit him. He's going down, his nose is going down. I've seen a lot of people do this, and they act like they're going down and then pull up at the last second. So you basically fly over the top of them and think they're dead, but they actually survive. But I'm like, ah, he's gonna die anyway. Look at him come out of the corner of my screen. I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about him. He's on fire. He's gonna die anyway. So let's go after the F1. And there's off there goes the wing. That's one thing these guns love to do, is they love to chop off wings, especially of bombers and tails of bombers, as you might find out later on. Who knows? I avoided a head-on with the Yak-1 because I know that front 20mm is deadly, and I didn't really want to get into a confrontation with that. He still ended up managing to crit my right wing, which will come into play later. So remember that my right wing is it's barely hanging on for dear life at this point. I'm trying to kill this buffalo with nothing but machine guns. I said earlier the machine guns are very effective. They are very effective, but I was having a really hard time aiming this game due to the fact that my FPS was so low. Not making excuses, I'm just saying. That the FPS wasn't quite there, as I believe P400 or something ends up getting the kill. Yeah, P400 does end up getting the kill on that buffalo. Gotten the assist. Oh well, I'll spread the love a little bit. I already have more than enough kills than I need. Let's go after the Yak-1. And all of the main battles taking around right around this base you see me flying over right here. That's where the majority of the battles tend to take place in this map. It's an interesting map though. I like the way it's balanced. The battle is centralized, and then you also have the outskirts battle. But again, I like the map. I like how it plays. But just my issue is the fact that it drops FPS for me. Now, other people probably don't have this issue. It may just be me. It may be a very small amount of people because it's not very well optimized as of yet. But nonetheless, I do have problems with this map. HE112BO and an SU2. I was originally going after the SU2, but I saw the HE112BO come out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, you have cannons, but you're low tiered, so that means you're made of paper, automatically, you think, right? Am I gonna be able to grab him? I'm missing all of these shots here, trying to lead my shot. There he is. Rest in pieces. PE3 tries to dive on me, but I'm like, no thank you. I do not have enough speed to go nose up. We also got BF-109 E3 now. Coming over to my left. Am I going to grab him? Oh, nope. The, what is that? I ended up getting him. The JU-87G, I think, ended up beating him in a head-on with his 37mm cannons. P-38G Lightning, getting some good shots on him as he passes by. Right now, I'm struggling with my wing slightly, but it's not that big of an issue. I thought about going back to base a couple times. I'm like, it's possibly. And I end up getting the kill there with the cannon. I think he caught on fire and was already so weak from my machine guns, I meant. Not cannons. But I lit into him with my machine guns that ended up bursting into flames and blowing up, which... So the machine guns are effective, even though the cannons are the stopping power of the BF-109s. I was thinking that lag 3 was going for me. He was, and then he banked off. I'm like, I'm not going to go in for a landing. I'm almost reloaded. Let's just bring her around and see if we can't kill some more people, because that's pretty much all I'm trying to do. I'm not focusing on ground targets or anything. DO-217J, I know how durable... Oh, okay. Not durable in the pilot. Oh, pilot's getting killed. That's just a story for another time and how much it irks me. It's just the frustration is, it builds, to say the least. 10 kills, as you just saw there for a little bit of a second. 10 kills, 1 death, so... I'm doing good. I'm doing good this game. Now, this game is actually dragging out relatively long for the majority of games that I normally play. I was surprised as to how it was dragging on so much. I guess there wasn't a lot of bombers. The bombers came out late game, which you'll see in a bit, and also there's JU-88 there as well. Originally going after the Kitty Hawk, but I'm like, hey, wait, score's low. We only have so many ground targets left. Let's go after the bomber and take care of him first. Machine guns are reloaded. You see the top left corner of my screen where it says water, 110 degrees, I believe, Celsius. I haven't quite figured that out. I know it was introduced in the 1.37 update. That JU-87 just bailed after the Mitchell shot him. I guess his control surfaces were damaged. But the water overheating, the oil overheating, the engines having problems with different temperatures, that's a new thing to arcade mode. That didn't used to be in it prior to 1.37. Or maybe it was there, just didn't happen as often. But now it happens very often, I've noticed. And I'm not quite sure what it's about. I know if you just decrease your throttle, because you'll see me the whole game, I'm just hammering on my wartime emergency power. The whole dang game. It's because this thing, it loses a lot of its speed when it turns, even though it's a slow turner. Well, most planes lose a lot of their speed when they turn. But I was having some problems, especially with my wing. I wasn't able to turn as quickly as I'd like to. Like 311 managing to just completely disable his entire plane there. For a win streak times 6 in the BF-109 F4 Tropical. But I haven't quite nailed the water, the oil, what manages them, what affects them. And I've noticed they're different with different planes. Like the Beaufighter has oil problems with the overheating, and the BF-109s have water issues, and I don't know exactly how it works. I know if you just decrease your throttle a little bit, get off 100%, stop using wartime emergency power, it'll eventually go back down, but the second you start hammering your throttle again, it will go back up very quickly. This HE-111 H3 just absorbed all of my bullets right here, just all of them. I still have some cannon fire left. My machine guns are out of ammo. I try to maneuver to grab him, and... Wait, what? You know that black wing I was talking about earlier, how it's going to come into play? Well, it just came into play. A-20G, Havoc, flew right underneath me right when I was banking, and I just clipped his wing on the way down. Oh, that's just disappointing. Anyway, I guess still got one more BF-109 E3. Now, this whole game, I'm actually using my Germans to get the Focke-Wulf 190A5? Don't quote me. Yes, I think it's the A5. It's the first Focke-Wulf. The one that was newly introduced, and that is insanely overpowered with its 4 20mm cannons and 2 machine guns. The Focke-Wulf I despise of. Same with the BF-109s. I can't despise of them as much when I'm playing them and getting 11 kills and 2 deaths. I can't despise them as much, I still despise them though. I get one-shotted by BF-109s and Focke-Wulfs more than any plane in the game when I'm flying Russians, British, Americans. I just always get one-shotted. Which is funny because there's been so many instances, like I can one-shot a lot of planes in my BF-109s, but a lot of times it does take quite a few bullets. And I'm always so sad when I get one-shotted by them. I'm like, why can't my BF-109s ever do that? But sometimes they do. Sometimes they manage to pull through. So I spawned in my 109 E3, and I'm like, okay, bomber time. Now the bomber's starting to bring out, we need to win this game. SM-79 barely missing his wing. So many times I've tried to veer off to one side or the other when I'm getting in a head-on with the plane, and it never, ever, ever goes well. Ever. You always have to go either down or up. Always go over the top of them or below them. Never go side to side, because if you move your wing's just going to go right into their fuselage, and they're not going to crash, but you're going to get your wing knocked off. It drives me nuts. I have to learn. I still never learn. But that time, I was very, very lucky. I was able to get my wings around in time to just go right under him. So there's the kill on the Sparavio. Don't quote me on it. Italian, I don't speak Italian. I am Italian, but I don't speak Italian. I don't know very much Italian. I barely took Spanish, because Spanish and Italian are very similar. I remember I heard the appropriate pronunciation of the SM-79, which was the famed Italian bomber during World War II that the Italians and Germans both used. Mostly the Italians, though, in their events in the Mediterranean with Malta and things of that nature. But we're not using them today, we're not going to talk about them. This HE-111H, you'll notice a weird, I wouldn't call it a tactic, it's just kind of a style I use, is I don't steadily climb. I don't go, I'm losing a little bit of speed, but I'm climbing at like a 45-degree angle. I go 90 degrees until I'm down to 200 miles per hour, then I level out, gain speed, 90 degrees, I gain all my altitude very, very quickly in short bursts rather than slowly going upwards. I only do that in arcade, of course, because in historical, that's completely nuts. You lose all your speed the second you go vertical whatsoever. And I don't play historical very much, but I've just observed that from when I rarely ever do. Now it's time to work on the HE-111H3. There was a Dauntless chasing him for a while. Yeah, but that Dauntless, I think, lost a lot of his speed and backed up. Waiting for the reload, machine guns are up. I'm trying to aim for the engines. You can actually see me aiming for the engines here on the H3. I just start going for the tail again. Machine guns are out. Now my cannons are up. You'll see me, I'm aiming for the wings here. I'm trying to grab the wings and just take off the wings, because I know that's going to be my best bet. Trying. There it is. Knocked off the wing with the cannons. The E3's cannons, I feel, are just very... They're unreliable. Like the F4... well, the F4s in general. The F4 Tropical and the F4 Standard with their R1 modification wing cannons, they're very reliable. They're very well in sync with the front 20 mil, so they all work very well together. The 20 mils on the BF-109s, because they're mounted on the wings, I just feel they're iffy. They don't always one-shot things. Sometimes that you get amazing one-shots where you just crit the entire plane one shot. Other times it's very like, you might hit them if you're lucky. So I try to refrain from using the E3 as much as I can. It's still a great plane, still a very, very good low-tier plane, especially for the BF-109s. But I have problems with the cannons from time to time, as I'm actually chasing another one of my kind right now. Me and this P-36 Seahawk are on him. Not actually Seahawk, but P-36C, the letter C. You know what I'm talking about. I'm really struggling here with the FPS. As you probably see at the top right corner, it's like 24 right now. I'm really struggling with my FPS trying to grab this guy. Am I going to grab him? Oh, there we go. Got him. Completely just critted his planes. I find that the Germans do that a lot, where they don't actually like knock off the wings. Well, a lot of times they'll just not completely knock off a wing or knock off the tails. But a lot of times they just completely disable all the modules in the plane and all the flight surfaces. Flight surfaces? Flight controls. I don't know what I'm talking about. I guess flight surfaces. Could probably work. Just disables all of them. To the fact that there's like, this plane's useless, I'm bailing out. And then you just get the kill. Which is nice. But it does take a lot of ammo sometimes in the 109s, which I always get one-shotted in, so I'm really... Am I doing something wrong? I think I probably am. I don't fly the Germans that often. I've even talked about that, how I hate the Germans, and I think people who use them are scumbags. So I don't fly them that often, but when I do, I have mixed results. I usually tend to get a lot of kills, but just... I die a lot. This is like my lowest survivability of any nation. I can survive brilliantly in the Russians. I rarely ever die in Russians. British I can survive pretty well. Americans I die all the time in. Japanese I can survive very well. It's just the Germans and the Americans, especially the Germans, very, very low survival rate. I always seem to get shot down in these things. I'll get a good amount of kills, but I just always get shot down. I'm not quite sure why that is. I'm playing how I normally would play the Russians, but it's slightly different because you have to always adjust your playstyle for every different nation. But I always still have the problems of I just lose all my planes very, very quickly. I need to get more 109s, my problem. I have very, very few 109s. Hey, there's the win. The Hero Fighter, just as, I didn't end up getting the MC-202, but we still won! We'll see here at the results screen here in a second. But Hero Fighter, so I know I did good. 14 for 2. The final score, and I feel very, very dirty. I feel disgusting. I feel like I'm a monster that I was one-shotting people with the R1 modification. I feel terrible. You can see I'm almost to the Focke-Wulf 190, so unfortunately I expect videos in the future. Very reluctant to use it, but I know I'll enjoy it because it one-shots everything. But that's going to be pretty much it. 14 kills, 2 deaths in the BF-109s, low-tier ones, F4s, and the E3s. Getting Hero Fighter as well. Gonna go ahead and save the replay. That was a good game. But I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little taste of War Thunder. You can definitely expect some more in the future, as I've been having a lot of fun with War Thunder lately. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of the day. Later!